Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome, welcome. If you'd love to join us, we're going to start in some song and some worship together. So if you'd like to start standing or however you are able to join us this morning, that would be great. And thank you for being here. God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. Remember Christ our Savior was born on Christmas Day to save us all from Satan's power when we were gone astray. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Tidings of the same. Now that in Bethlehem was born the Son of God by name. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Born a king on Bethlehem's plain, gold I bring to crown him again, King forever, ceasing never over us all to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. Glorious now, behold him arise, King and God and sacrifice. Alleluia, alleluia, worshiping God on high. Oh, star of wonder, star of night, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel that mourns in lowly exile here until will the Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, thou dayspring, come and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, thou wisdom from on high, and order all things far and nigh. To us the path of knowledge show, and cause us in her ways to go. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth, and I'm part of the prayer team here at Brown Line Church. We are a small little group that is totally volunteer-based, and we are here on Sundays. We rotate based on people's schedules, but during worship, we're just in the back there if you need some prayer, and then during communion and after service, we'll be down at the front. And as I said last week, like if you have something really beautiful and wonderful and exciting that you want to share with us, and we can pray through gratitude and blessings with you, that would be awesome. I know that's not the traditional thing that you think of for prayer, but we also know that if this is a season where you are struggling to find that tiny spark of hope, or you're wanting to lean into peace, or you're trying to figure out how to handle joy and grief at the same time in the season, we are also back there for you. And in my personal journey to decolonize my faith, I know that one of the first things I did is sever ties with my prayer. It just felt too rooted in the colonization and nationalism of the Christian church in America, and so I abandoned all of it. But what I have found is that there were a lot of other things I was doing that were also prayers. And so even though now I can go back to some of my traditional prayers and feel comfort and joy and peace in those, a lot of times I'm doing some of those other things. This week in particular, there was a song that just sort of came at me on Monday. And so it's a song that I was praying all week, and I was literally listening to it at least once a day, usually more times. I was sitting with it, I was humming it, I was getting it stuck in my head, I was reading the lyrics. And so this week I'd like to offer that as a prayer. That I would be good, even if I did nothing. That I would be good, even if I got the thumbs down. That I would be good if I got and stayed sick. That I would be good, even if I gained 10 pounds. That I would be fine, even if I went bankrupt. That I would be good if I lost my hair and my youth. That I would be great if I was no longer queen. That I would be grand if I was not all-knowing. That I would be loved even when I numb myself. That I would be good even when I'm overwhelmed. That I would be loved even when I was fuming, and that I would be good even if I was clingy. That I would be good even if I lost sanity. That I would be good. I just pray that for whoever that needed to resonate with, that it really does this morning.
Jubilee. you. You may take your seats.
Can we give the musicians another round of applause? What a wonderful way to start our morning. And thank you to Beth for her prayer of song that definitely ripped the seal off of my emotions this morning. So thank you for that. Welcome, everyone. My name is Christina Culver. I am a community member here, and I also sit on the financial board. And it's so lovely to see you all here on this third day of Advent. I know as a kid, I loved when the pink candle was lit because it was a signal to me that Christmas was almost here, but I still had a week left to enjoy the season. So this feels very special and nostalgic to me. It's so nice to see everyone. If you are new or newer here, welcome. Brown Line Church is founded in the Chicago community, but we pull members from all over. So regardless of where you are joining us from, if you would like to join our conversation today, you can follow the QR code to the free app Discord, where Mark Scrimenti is our moderator today. So you can ask questions, you can add your stories to the conversation, keep that flowing, and connect with each other. Brown Line Church was started 10 years ago as a space for people to come together in the Christian faith, but who might feel more comfortable in secular settings or more religiously progressive settings, but also as a safe space for people who stand firmly and fully in their Christian faith, or if you're the opposite like me, where you're like, I just don't know. This was started as a safe space and it continues to be, and I hope that you find that the way I do. And here, Jesus is who we focus on. Jesus leads us to a God of love. Jesus reminds us to be humble, to do the work, to try to get it right, not just to be right. And I think our community does a great job of working on those things. So I'm so glad you're all here. If you have a preschool or elementary kiddo who would love to join in kids' church, it sounds really, really fun today. Miss Amanda and Mr. Warren have an awesome project that they're working on today. So if you'd like to head back to the church, they will be in Theater 3. Is that right? No, 3? Yeah. And so they'll join us right before communion. So anyway, thank you all so much for being here today in this mostly joyous, sometimes hard season. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Christina. Hello, everybody. Great to be with you all. I'm Vince. I'm one of the pastors here, and I get the joy of sharing with us this morning. Oh, but before I do, my notes are reminding me I'm supposed to blow out these candles so they don't end up causing a fire hazard by the end of the service. Thank you, yes. I'll be taking autographs afterwards. Thank you. Please, enough. I know, yeah. Now you know that I have the credibility to speak to you all because of my incredible candle blowing out abilities. So, you're welcome. So I had to start for us today some charming background legend on Saint Nicolaus, or Saint Nicholas, or Saint Claus, or Santa Claus. I learned this from the newsletter of a teacher on contemplative prayer named Mike Morell. So I'm going to read from Morell. It says, Nicolaus is said to have encouraged a culture of generosity among the people he served as bishop in modern-day Turkey, saying, the giver of every good and perfect gift has called upon us to mimic God's giving. Many tales surround Nicolaus's own legendary generosity, none more poignant than that of 3 young sisters and their impoverished father. In the sisters' time and culture, they were likely destined to a life of forced prostitution, with their father unable to pay proper dowries to potential suitors. When Nicolaus heard of this, he intervened by providing an abundance of gold to each of the girls as they came of age, coming under the cover of night so as not to bring shame upon the family. Their benefactor was a mystery to them, though the second girl, hoping similar gifts might be coming her way, allegedly set her stockings out the night before her birthday, which were in turn filled with gold. When the final girl came of age, their father stayed up all night to see who this elusive gift giver was. Nikolaus, crafty in his generosity, tossed his final bountiful gift through the chimney so as to avoid detection. And to honor St. Nikolaus and his legacy, people around Europe in the Middle Ages exchanged gifts on the day of his death, December 6th, the feast of St. Nicholas in the liturgical church traditions. That's fun background, right? Kind of charming, right? But also inspiring. The origins of Santa Claus are someone who made intentional decisions to try to abolish poverty. So let's come back to that in a little bit. Today is the third Sunday of Advent, as we were lighting the candles to mark the 4 weeks that lead up to Christmas. Throughout the year here at BLC or at any church, you will visit various texts across the Bible, but every year in Advent, we visit a few familiar texts again. The birth narratives of Jesus in Matthew and Luke's Gospels, and then the scriptures from the Hebrew Bible that Matthew and Luke creatively attached to Jesus. And there's something about that rhythm that is particularly formative, going back to these texts and what they evoke. It's a time to be more intentional. We do more ritualistic things like lighting candles, like taking a moment to pray when we maybe wouldn't in most weeks when we're just going about our lives. And so if you've been following along with our home liturgies that we've released, our Advent mealtime prayers for families, for friends, for roommates to share together, we've been trying to release these once a week on Sundays here in Advent to facilitate that, for this to be a time where you have a few more regular rhythms of prayer worked into your life. And so our third one will go out today over email or Discord or Instagram, wherever you'd like to follow that. Okay, so the biblical text these last several years that we've returned to on the third Sunday of Advent has been Matthew chapter 2, and that is the story of the Magi, or the wise men, and Herod in this confrontation. If you will remember with me, we've been painting the background context here because, the stories about Jesus' virgin birth, this special angelic announcements and everything, it's such an ingrained part of modern Western culture's observance of Christmas, right? Because songs are on that mention these events, since even before Thanksgiving, right? Since November, we've been listening to them. So it's easy to misunderstand why it is significant, why we want to go back to these stories every year in their historical context. The significance of the story of this virgin birth with angelic announcement is not that there were never any other stories told about such a person. And oh my gosh, Jesus is the only one. He's the winner. So go Jesus, the winner, because he's the one who has a virgin birth. That's not actually the reason for the significance of going back to it. The significance is that there very much were other stories about noble births, even virgin births, told about different people in the ancient world. The Roman Caesar, or emperor in particular, the most powerful person in the known world, if you lived in the Mediterranean 2,000 years ago. And this was a thing in ancient biographies. Here are these miraculous circumstances that surrounded this person's birth because they became a hero and they became this super powerful, important figure. So their birth must have been bonkers. And that's why we have these kind of stories. The Christmas stories of Jesus' noble birth are subversions of that noble birth pattern in the ways that biographies were told about important people in the ancient world, particularly the biographies that were told about the Roman Caesar. The message was, Jesus is an alternative king to the Roman Caesar, with an alternative kingdom to the Roman Empire, not a power-hungry tyrant who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but a humble teacher of love, born in a manger, not a violent empire that claims peace but enforces that with violence, but a non-violent commonwealth that practices what it preaches. That's the contrast here. And as we go a step down in the power hierarchy in this first century Roman Empire, below the Caesar is the local governor of first century Palestine who does the Caesar's will in exchange for getting to be the king of his own castle. And those local governors were called the Herods. So as we read Matthew's Christmas story today, Matthew chapter 2, the Magi and the Herod, we're keeping in mind this context. We have Herod and Caesar representing this imperial power on one side. And then we have Jesus, the alternative humble king, on the other side, okay? This year I want to read the story of the Magi and Herod from the First Nations version of the Bible. This is a translation of the New Testament into English by native North Americans following the tradition of native storytellers' oral culture. And one of the brilliant contributions of the First Nations version is the way it handles names. So as we read here, Mary is bitter tears. The Magi are seekers of wisdom, and my absolute favorite, Herod, is chief looks brave, which is just an excellent, subtle little dig, right? We've been reading this version with my kids, and our 7-year-old Wesley is like, oh, he looks brave, but he's not really brave. I was like, yeah, good, you know? So that's kind of fun. All right, we're going to read from the First Nations version. It was during the days of the bad-hearted chief looks brave that the chosen one was born in the village House of Bread in the land of promise. After his birth, seekers of wisdom traveling on a long journey from the east came to the capital city of the Israelites. They began to ask around, "Where's the one who has been born to be chief of the tribes of Israel? We saw his star when the sun rises and have come to humble ourselves before him and honor him." When Chief Looks Brave heard this, he and all who lived in the capital city of the Israelites were troubled. He called a council of all the head holy men and scroll keepers and asked them, where was this chosen one to be born? Then Chief Looks Brave called a secret council with the seekers of wisdom to find out when the star first appeared. He told them, look everywhere for the child, find him and tell me where he is, so that I may also come honor him. Really? Really? Yeah. After listening, did I lose our, sorry, excuse me there. There we are, excuse me. After listening to Chief Looks Brave, the seekers of wisdom went their way. When they saw the star rising in the east, they jumped with joy, and with glad hearts they followed until the star stopped and rested over the place where the child was. They went into the house and saw the child and his mother bitter tears. As soon as they saw the child, they bowed down to honor him. They opened their bundles and gifted him with gold, sweet-smelling incense, and bitter ointment of myrrh. The seekers of wisdom were warned in a dream not to go back to Chief Looks Brave, so they returned to their homeland by a different road. As the story famously continues, Herod, in his fury that his flattery of the Magi did not work, orders the murder of every child under 2 in and around Bethlehem. Truly a presentation of 2 very different kingdoms, right? This is what begins Matthew's gospel. Matthew goes on now to tell the story of Jesus' life and ministry and eventually his death and resurrection. How does he set it up? 2 very different kingdoms. So last year during Advent, we asked the question, what are the Herod and Caesar-like powers of today that sit on top and look brave and claim peace, but really are dishonest and looking to profit by any means necessary, including resorting to violence? And we worked this idea, and we'll work it again this year, that many progressive biblical scholars and theologians suggest that the Herods and Caesars of today are those protecting the freedom of an unchecked global market that exploits people and pillages the planet. Those protecting the global religion of economism, as I've heard it called. You know, if religion is about what you put your trust in, is there a more broadly and deeply adhered to religion in the world than economism? Right? It's not belief in God, but it's very much religious belief in the invisible hand of the market that will save us all as riches trickle down from the top. But those riches never really do trickle down, do they? How much conflict this stokes or exacerbates downstream among smaller powers vying for the limited leftovers while those on the top stay well-fed. That is one of the pieces of the story of the atrocities in Gaza right now that particularly grieves me. Closer to home here, since the 1980s, particularly in America, but also elsewhere in the West, there's been a renewed commitment to extreme freedom for the market, that thing we believe in religiously, removing regulations that might protect workers so the market can grow without restriction forever. Growth and growth and growth, no matter who it tramples, no matter who it runs into. The ratio between the salary of the average CEO and the salary of the average employee of a company in America today has gotten completely out of hand. According to Statista Research in 2020, the ratio of CEO to employee salary was 398 to 1. 398 times more money for the CEOs than the average worker. The growth is not trickling down, right? That's not a societal contract between employers and employees for mutual benefit. That's exploitation when it's 398 to 1. In his recent book, Poverty by America, what a title, right? Poverty by America. The sociologist Matthew Desmond points out that 38 million people live below the poverty line, but also the poverty line is way too low. Do you know what the line drawn for poverty for a family of 4 in America right now is? They say if you're below this, you're impoverished, you're poor. $28,000 a year. If you ask anybody, not even just a family of 4, a dual income, no kids family, how much is it going to take for you to get by, especially in a place like Chicago? Are they going to say $28,000? No. They're going to say like $40,000, $50,000, right? $28,000. That's what it takes to be poor. 1 in 3 Americans live in homes making $50,000 or less a year. So there are millions more people who are not officially poor right now in America, but who live in poverty. Millions more than that 38 million that are officially poor. Matthew Desmond talks about how there are actually a lot of good experiments out there trying to identify better ways to calculate poverty so we can address it more systemically and correctly and accurately, but there is pushback. Why? Why on earth would there be pushback on changing something that so obviously needs to be changed? Because more accurate recalculations of who is officially poor would mean rises in the official poor numbers by the millions. And politicians don't want that to happen on their watches for PR reasons. They say, the argument goes, common people, common busy people won't be able to discern the nuance of the reason poverty was up so much during my time in power was because there were recalculations. And so when my opponents say, look how much poverty grew under this person, they think that that's too complicated for people to track with. So they just kind of throw their hands up and say, well, we're just going to roll with this because it's the best we've got. But it's not the best we've got. That's either willfully deceptive of us as the masses, or it's at the very least condescending of us with this assumption that we wouldn't be able to understand, right? Gee, thanks. thanks person who's supposed to represent me. You think I'm stupid and I can't track, In my opinion, this is not being realistic. It's a cynical lack of imagination. And this sort of behavior, to me, is the behavior of Herods and Caesars today. So in the Christmas story, we just read that last line. The Magi are warned in a dream and refuse to cooperate with Herod. They go home by another way. They sense the dishonesty. They heed the call that comes to them in their spirits, in a dream, in nature around. They're following a star, right? They're paying attention, and they heed the call. Despite the, flattering, no doubt tempting call to them from the powerful Herod to be in Herod's council. Herod's so important, right? But they refuse it. If today those protecting the unchecked exploitative market are the Herods and the Caesars of our world, turning a blind eye to poverty, where can we find those who are the Magi of our world? Those responding to the deeper call to make courageous choices, to refuse cooperation with such exploitation. In answering that, I want to refer back to our series this fall as we talked about societal burnout. There is an oppression in our current economic context that all of the 99% of people who have to work for a living experience, including even a middle-class white person with privilege like me. There's an exploitation, an oppression that even I experience because I am among that 99% of people that have to work for a living. All of us are dehumanized. This is a word we've been going back to during Advent, dehumanized. All of us are dehumanized by the endless acceleration that our economism demands. You have to grow. You have to keep going. You have to stay busy, or else you'll fall behind. It's different for the middle class than for the working class, and that's important to note. There are differences. We don't want to equate the two, because that will minimize the acute experience of this for the poor. For the poor, for the working class, dehumanization is imposed on them externally by time clocks and cruel bosses and systemic injustice. For the middle class, the dehumanization is internal. We take it on as guilt feelings for not keeping up. Oh, they're right, I'm not keeping up. I'm not staying busy as much as I should. I'm not performing myself as well or as authentically as the next person. And oh gosh, there's so much more. Oh man, look at them and their side hustles. They're so much cooler. They've figured it out and I'm so rotten. Those are not the same. The external pressures or the internal guilt, they're not the same. But there is a commonality there, that we are all being dehumanized. We are alive, but we're not really human. Because we're constantly looking around just thinking about what we're not keeping up with. Oh my gosh, like you cease to be a human being who can feel joy and grief and happiness and fun and anger and all of those things because you're just so swept up in this, like, keep up or die, innovate or die. The middle class, like me, must see, in light of this commonality, that we have more in common with the rest of the 99% of people who have to work for a living, the poor, the working class. We have more in common with them than we do with the rich. I'm speaking to myself as somebody who identifies as middle class. That's my demographic. That's my social status. I must see that I have more in common with the poor and the working class than I do with the rich, who it is so easy, my attention is so easily drawn to focus on the risk because, gosh, being in their orbit, like having what they have or wanting the status that they, enjoy, oh, it's so easy to be pulled there. Oh, look at that. Oh, I could use that. Oh, that sounds like a fun weekend. It's so easy for me to be pulled in that direction. I must see that I have more in common with the poor and the working class than I do with the rich. Choosing solidarity with the rest of the 99%, like the Magi refused to cooperate with Herod and Caesar, I believe that is our translation of this passage to today. Responding to the call that is within us, if we're paying attention, to go home by another road. That is there at the same time as that orbit pulling us into the rich. There's also that call. Ooh, maybe you should go home by another road. James Taylor, the singer-songwriter, famous in the 70s and 80s and still writing today, one of my favorites, wrote in 1988 the song "Home by Another Way." And it's all building on this story in the Christmas Gospel of Matthew. He says, "Steer clear of royal welcomes, avoid a big to-do. A king who would slaughter the innocents will not cut a deal for you. Time to go home by another way. But Herod's always out there. He's got our cards on file. It's a lead pipe cinch. If we give an inch, old Herod likes to take a mile." That's good, right? We got this far to a lucky star, but tomorrow is another day. We can make it another way. Safe home, as they used to say. Keep a weather eye on the chart, or to the chart on high, and go home by another way. It's good, right? James Taylor. So this line, "go home by another way," it bears a resemblance to the phrase we've leaned into this Advent from the womanist theologian Monica Coleman, "making a way out of no way." This is what we've been coming back to each of the Sundays here of Advent. Dr. Coleman unpacks the social and religious experience of black women to develop a picture of God, and that's her kind of big contribution to theology over the last several years. Who is God? Where in life might we recognize God? Where today, right? Not just in stories of the past. If we start with the experience of black women rather than the usual, Euro-American white men, what picture do we get of God? That is what Coleman is trying to do in her work, Making a Way Out of No Way. She says, God is the call and the force of love that makes ways out of no way. The call and the force. Making a way out of no way is a pillar phrase in Black American history. The idea is anytime you feel trapped, stuck, hopeless, or also tempted, which I think is this big part of this Magi story, right? The temptation to cooperate with Herod and Caesar. But in spite of that temptation, or in spite of feeling stuck, you carry on. Anytime that happens, that's God. Making a way out of no way. When you experience a way made out of no way, that's God. The pull lovingly calling you forward. The push giving you the courage to resist temptation or to listen to that loving call. And so Coleman's view of God captures, I think, what the Advent season is all about. It is not just a remembrance of the way Jesus came 2,000 years ago to show a people God's call, but it is a settling of our hearts to embrace the way the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, continues to come in every moment now, showing us God's call. We do not just have stories from the past to show us God's call. If we can quiet ourselves, that call can be recognized, perceived today, to make a way out of no way, to go home by another way. Coleman describes the spiritual life so well. And so forgive me, I'm going to put a very long quotation of hers on the screen. I hope you will find it worth it for me to read an extended bit from Monica Coleman. I think it's worth it. The possibilities we consider when we make decisions come from God. God orders these possibilities, urging us, luring or persuading us to choose those options that lead to a vision of the common good. Do you hear the story of the Magi right there in what she started with? Some theologians have called this urging the voice of God, the whisper of God, intuition, God's love for the world, or that voice inside. God calls us, indeed, the entire world toward God's vision for the common good. In this calling, God begs to be recognized, and yet, God can also be ignored. Coleman writes, she intentionally uses the language of God's calling to describe God's activity in the world. The language of God, of call, resonates with the language of religious communities that understand the ideal spiritual life is one lived in response to a call from God. The word calling goes beyond the singularity implied in this word call. The call may not be experienced as a clear sentence or directional order. As Marjorie Suhaki puts it, God will indeed offer guidance, but the guidance will not be in the form of a clear voice in the night, but in the form of options to weigh, factors to consider, friends to consult. In addition, God may call us more than once and to more than one thing. God's calling is individual and general. It comes to us as individuals, but also as communities. Sometimes as we operate and make decisions and act in ways that conform to God's calling. Sometimes we do not. We are genuinely free to become in the ways that God is calling us or not. This is not a singular or one-time calling. In every moment, in every context, God is calling us. Over and over again, we have the opportunity to align ourselves with God's calling or not. The world is harmonious when it responds affirmatively or conforms to God's calling. So this, to me, just describes the spiritual life so well. Just as we see in the story of the Magi, God is calling to the world in every moment, in many different ways, individually and communally, to align ourselves with that vision for the common good. Are we listening? You know? Sometimes we respond with courage and alignment and listening ears, and sometimes we don't. And thus the struggle against poverty, exploitation, violence, vengeance, all these things, they continue. But God is faithful and continues to call in every moment. This moment, and this moment, and this moment, and tomorrow when you wake up, and the next day when you wake up, and next Sunday, and next time you get horrible news of what's happening in the world. God is faithful and continues to call. And I love this line, often in the form of options to weigh, factors to consider, friends to consult. I love that. That is absolutely how I hear God's call. When you experience those things, oh, that's a new option to weigh. Oh, I should call that person. All those different things. When you experience those things, do you name them as God's call in your life? I wonder what could happen if you do. Because that is where I want to end here. The feeling of relationship and of like close companionship and intimacy that I experience because I have learned to name those little perceptions in the back of my mind. Oh, that's a new option to weigh. I've learned to name that as God calling to me. That is such a source of fuel in my life. It is such a source of feeling loved in my life because I've learned to name those things as that is a personal, loving God who is coming to me and speaking to me and calling me. I feel more comfortable in my shoes. I feel settled in my spirit despite the overwhelm of it all. I feel more courageous to, take the steps that I need to take. So I encourage you to name those little things, those, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could do that. A new possibility comes to you. What if you considered that the Spirit of God calling you? Address God within you. Find God calling back to you in those spaces. I promise you, it is a wonderful feeling to start to see that develop. And that is where I want to pray for us this morning, if we can get ourselves in touch with God's call to us in this moment. So get yourself comfortable. I'm going to adjust my seat here. And if it helps you, we're sort of, again, we're rolling with this idea that those little things that might flash through our brains are God's call to us. So if it helps you to close your eyes to help you focus, please feel free to close your eyes. Not at all a requirement. Sometimes prayer for me is like focusing on a light source, a candle. If you want to light a candle, that's a long-standing prayer practice. If you want to, look at a corner of the room, something that can just help you shut out distractions is what you need. So you don't have to close your eyes, but if that helps you, I encourage you to close your eyes. I'm going to pray for us. God, I choose to believe that this is a moment where we are being communally called to, as Dr. Coleman wonders. So for any of us who feel especially open to that, we look now for your calling to us as a community, as a group, as a bunch of people that come together as one unit. And we are people who feel grieved about the violence that's happening in Gaza. We are people who are grieved about our discussion right now of poverty in America, the unique poverty that is happening all around us and just often just feels invisible because we are all of those demands on us that just keep our eyes off the ball. We're just so tired. We are a group of people that feels communally, societally burnt out. Not because of anything any of us are doing wrong, but we just feel burnt out because, God, everybody's burnt out. We are a community of people that wishes we could do more, that wishes we knew more, that wishes we were, signaling that we were a good person better. Well, all of these things, we just feel so weighed down by these things. Call to us, God. Call to us as a group. Show us that we are acceptable despite the ways we feel unacceptable. Call to us about ways to practically resist the exploitation that we've talked a little bit about today. Chosen to focus on even though it's hard and uncomfortable. What can we do? And I want you to stay in that place of prayer. I don't want to interrupt anything. I'm going to encourage us all to take one very deep breath in and then out. And I'm going to pray for a bit longer after that. So let's take a deep breath in. And exhale. And now, God, we receive your call as individuals. We do have our own unique stories. And some of us feel more trouble or tension or grief or concern than others in the room. Some of us feel more resourced or like able to be helpful than others in the room. What are you calling to each of us now? And again, we settle our minds to listen to you. For any of us who may feel like, something flitted across my brain space there, a thought, a possibility, a friend to consult, a factor to consider, or maybe a phrase just stayed with us, or a picture appeared in our mind. God, we receive that. We ask for you to continue to speak to us. We ask for your help to stay the course in whatever it is you are calling to us as individuals and as a group. In Jesus' name, amen. If you are compelled by this suggestion, we've worked today that what it means to refuse to cooperate with the Herod and the Caesars of today is to work toward an economy that is different, that is based in solidarity and not in just growth and growth and growth and growth forever for the market until, supposedly the money trickles down. There is one action item that I want to give everybody today, and that is to educate yourself on the Bring Chicago Home referendum that will be on Chicago's March 2024 ballot. I know that not all of us are Chicago residents, but this is just sort of an important thing to be on people's radar. Is anybody familiar with the Bring Chicago Home referendum? Anyone heard about it yet? Okay, a couple people. Great, this will be good. So this is important to know about. We'll talk about this more as March 2024 gets closer, because those of us who are Chicago residents, this will be on the March ballot. Basically, Bring Chicago Home is a referendum that will increase the one-time tax that is leveled on real estate transfers. So when somebody buys real estate, it will raise the tax leveled on property sales over $1 million. And what it will do is generate over $100 million for addressing homelessness. For property sales under $1 million, the transfer tax will actually go down. So this is actually good for the middle class too. If you've ever bought a home that's less than $1 million, that transfer tax will go down. But for property sales over $1 million, it will go up, and quite a lot. There is obviously some pushback because it will go up quite a lot. It will be up to Chicago voters in March 2024 to decide whether or not this goes through. Again, this will generate, by estimations, $100 million that is specifically marked for addressing homelessness in Chicago. So taxing sales, it's just a one-time tax. It's not like an ongoing thing, but it's like when you buy a home, you have to pay one tax, or multiple taxes, but one tax in particular is the transfer tax, and that's going up if the sale is over $1 million. I believe this referendum is very much in line with the application of biblical wisdom that we just talked about today. So bear it in mind. Action item for those of us who live in Chicago. All right, as we exit sort of Vince pontificating, I know it was so full of credibility because I began with my beautiful blowing out of the candles. Thank you, but I must step down off the soapbox. Can't be there forever, y'all. I want to remind you, as we close up today, if you're looking for further prayer, if us being in that space of quiet and just chill, contemplative kind of feeling, you'd like more of that, and it would help you to do that with another person, we would be so happy to pray for you. Our prayer team will be in these rows over here as we close up, so feel free to take advantage of that. Let me, as we move toward the end of our service, mention that next Sunday, I'm sure you're aware, is Christmas Eve, and we will have our Christmas Carol service here at the Davis. We would love for you to bring along friends and family. It is such a fun service. There's lots of singing because we have many of our favorite carols that we'll sing together. We will read the gospel tellings of Jesus' birth. We'll have a brief pastoral reflection, and then we will have Christmas cookie communion, which is a great time. Then the following Sunday, December 31st, is New Year's Eve, and we will have no service online or here at the theater that weekend. We're going to take it off as a holiday, so keep that in mind for Sunday, December 31st. If you are new or newer with us as you're joining here at the Davis or online, we would love for you to fill out a Connect card so we can follow up with you and stay in touch. If you're in the theater, the cards are in the center here next to the coffee. Just fill one out with a pen that's right there and drop it in the basket, and then we'll follow up with you. Or if you're online or you'd rather do it on your phone, you can just go to brownlinechurch.org/connect, and that's an easy way to fill out that, and we'll follow up with you and get to know you and how we can serve you best. Other ways to find out what's going on at BLC is to follow us on social at Brownline Church for updates on Sundays and any other events. And then all of our previous messages are available via YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Brownline Church. Let's see here. We'll put a financial update on the screen, and if you get anything out of this community, if you believe in the vision of this church, we would love for you to consider partnering with us financially. This is how we pay the bills as pastors. Our general fund is for keeping the lights on here at the Davis, turning the theater into a church, and then for our paying the pastor's bills. And then our neighboring fund is how we serve our neighbors and help folks connected to our community who are in times of financial need. December, historically, is one of our strongest giving, I mean, it's most nonprofits' strongest giving months. It's a time where people are feeling driven to charity, which is awesome. So thank you for that. If you've given a little bit extra, I've already noticed that several of our regular givers have added to their usual gifts this month. So thank you. We're because we run on donations. I have to say it, like, y'all. It's great. Thanks for those extra gifts. One thing that we've done several of the last years is we mentioned, like, hey, can we bank all that it takes, the rent that it takes to rent the Davis Theater for the following year, all in the month of December before we get to that year? Can we just bank it ahead of time? It's $18,000. So if we just got $18,000, that's above and beyond what we normally take in a given month. It's like, what if we could do that? And last year we pulled it off. A couple years before that, I think we pulled it off. So hey, that's my arbitrary line that I'm going to throw out there. Can we raise $18,000 this month? That would be cool. Other ways you can give of your time and your skills is volunteering. If you love kids, if you're up for coming early or staying late, if you're up for picking up refreshments so that we can enjoy coffee and bagels and donuts, all of those things, volunteers take care of those every week. So we would love to plug you in to those schedules if you want to help. All right. I'm seeing in the chat, we're to bring cookies to share for Christmas cookie communion, right? And I went up there because it was a question. And yes, you are to bring cookies. So folks, this is my call. Next week, potluck of Christmas cookies. I'm gonna make my my mom's Christmas cookies that she always made when I was a kid, and I've made them with our kids every year since then, and it's a fun tradition. So I'm gonna make chocolate snowballs. They'll be here. What else will be here? It's up to you. All right, let me invite up Haley, and we'll close with communion.
Hi, everyone. Each week we close our time with the practice of communion. Followers of Jesus across different spaces and time and cultures have used this practice as a way to acknowledge their need for a God beyond themselves, to find encouragement and to find a source of love. And so this morning, as we partake in communion, I would love for us to embrace this communal aspect, to use this as a time to check in with one another, to talk with friends, talk with someone new. You, if you're joining from home, will need something to eat and something to drink. If you're in the theater, we will pass around crackers and juice, but we also have donuts, and you can do donut communion any week that you want to, and that may be better for you than some nice cracker communion, so go for it. But I will invite you to stand and to mingle. We will come back together, so hold off on taking the elements just yet, and we'll do that at the very end together. All right. So I will call us back together now so that we can take communion with one another. If you would join me. On the night that Jesus was betrayed, he shared a meal with his community, and he broke bread, gave thanks, and said, "This is my body broken for you. Eat this in remembrance of me." Likewise, he took the cup and said, "This is my blood poured out. Drink of this in remembrance of me." And so, Jesus, this morning we remember that you are a force of love, that you are a companion in the calling. You are active in the world. Would we recognize your presence and your partnership in the days to come? Would we not fall into despair, but fall into community? Would we cling to the assurance that we are good? Individually, communally, would we rest in that goodness? And may we fight for a recognition of the inherent goodness of all. Amen. And now I hear that there is something special that we get to watch. So I'll invite you to actually sit back in your seats, and we can all tune in.
Filming.
It was during the days of the bad-hearted Chief Looks Brave that the chosen one was born in the village of House of Bread in the land of promise. After his birth, seekers of wisdom, covered up. Hurry up. Seekers of wisdom, traveling on a long journey from the east, came to the capital city of the Israelites. Come on, guys. Come to the capital city. They began to ask around, "Where is the one who has been born to chief of the tribes of Israel?"
I don't know.
We saw his star where the sun rises and have come to humble ourselves before him and honor him. He was no help. When Chief Looks Brave, go run over there. When Chief Looks Brave heard this, he and all the powerful people get in your places.
You guys need to be.
We can film
Okay.
again.
No, this is beautiful. Yes. Back to me, Chief Looks Brave.
People
Yes.
who lived in the capital city of Israelites were troubled.
I'm so
Called
troubled.
a council of all the head holy men and scroll keepers and asked them where the chosen one was to be born.
Where's the chosen one to be born?
Then Chief Looks Brave called a secret council
Secrets. I must tell secrets.
with the seekers of wisdom
Get over here.
to find out when the star first appeared. He told them, "Look everywhere for the child.
Look everywhere for the child. Find him and tell me where he is so that I may also come honor him."
Yeah, right.
Go.
Okay.
Go.
Down that way. Look that way.
Watch out for my cameraman.
Okay, after listening to Chief Looks Brave, the seekers of wisdom. Are you filming? Okay. Went their way. When they saw the star, rising in the east, they jumped with joy. Oh yeah! With glad hearts, and they followed until the star stopped and rested over the place where the child was. They went into the house. And saw the child and Mary, bitter tears. You want to film them? As soon as they saw the child, they bowed down. Bow. Get our gifts. And honored him. They opened their bundles and gifted him with gold, sweet-smelling incense, and bitter ointment of myrrh. There you go. Yeah. The seekers of wisdom. Oh, now we're sleeping.
I realize now that I know this.
The seekers of wisdom. Who's that guy? The seekers of wisdom were warned in a dream not to go back to Chief Looks Brave. Angel, talk. Taco Bell.
Don't go back to Chief Looks Brave. I'm somebody else.
Don't go back. We shouldn't go back? Okay, we won't go back. So they return to their homeland by a different road. Yeah.
Can we give Amanda and Warren another hand for doing that with the kids? That was awesome. You guys are awesome. All right, everyone. We'll see you next Sunday. That was fun. Merry Christmas.